Hi, almost everyone is watching my channel without a subscription. Please support me and subscribe. I release videos every day for you. Story 1: I got pregnant by a minor, but he lied about his age. Now he's talking about an abortion and threatening. Just moved to this city for work 2 months ago. No friends, no family, nothing. So I started bar hopping / visiting clubs. Till 1 month ago, I meet the LIAR at a bar one night. Guess that fake ID works. We really hit it off. We hung out for nearly 24 hours that night. We exchanged info and kept highly in touch. We continued to see each other nearly 24/7 after the first encounter. Red flags that I brushed off. Stupid me *. Found it kinda fishy how all his friends were 18-21-ish *. He felt very sexually inexperienced and kept saying I was the best. Looking back, maybe B, I was his first. Heard under his breath that I was the first 23-year-old he's been with. Thought I misheard him though, till 2 weeks ago as we were laying in bed, we were talking about his upcoming day plans. I'm over here thinking he's about to be 24 like me. Well, he revealed that he lied about his age. My heart sunk. Had I known he was 19, I would have naively had an interest in him. When I asked him why, he said he didn't know. That's all he had to say. I asked to see his real ID and yup, dude was 19 and is 20 now. I was crushed, but he was the first friend I made out here, and it seemed like we were going to become officially /gaf. The dude even said he felt like it was love at first sight when we met. I know that all seems very fast, but I was blinded by chemistry, I guess. I stopped doing anything sexual with him from that point on. We just went to bed. The next day he wanted sex, and to make future plans with me, I declined. He had the audacity to angrily ask why not. I knew I didn't want anything to do with him after that lie. It was also alarming to hear him raise his voice, but he was very kind and soft-spoken up until that point. After he left, I realized he had left one of his bags in my room. I texted him to arrange for pickup. He agreed for the following week or so, but he'd be out of town. I started to have odd symptoms after our last sexual encounter, which was 2 to 3 weeks ago. I thought maybe since I'm getting older my cycle's changing. I'm on birth control. Didn't know anything about pregnancy symptoms, besides missed period or maybe morning sickness, because I never thought I would be before a serious relationship / before my late 20s. I started experiencing cramps, extreme bloating, fatigue, digestive issues, and often missed period. During missing my period, I took a pregnancy test and received a faint double line. Never knew you could get that or what it meant, so I scheduled a doctor's app and yup, pregnant. He never came to get his stuff back. He started to say he's getting too busy. So I was like, whatever, didn't want anything to do with him anyways, but now that I'm pregnant, what to do? I sent him my blood work results and a pic of the pregnancy test 2 days ago. He seemed mature about it. He said he'd help me financially, daddy's money. Apparently his dad's the president of a huge organization and will do whatever he can to support. I asked if he could take me to future appointments and help cover the costs. He switched up. He said he'd be too busy and the most will give me is $100. I've been independent for more than a year and have the financial means to support myself and a baby. But it's the principle of his actions. Then he accused me of baby trapping him, despite seeing me take my birth control every day, and blocked me off social media. A few hours ago, he apologized, then asked if I scheduled an abortion already. When I sent my text saying what to do, I've always wanted to be a mother, but this is a shitty situation with shitty guy. But even ideal situations fall apart. I noticed he had blocked me before I could answer. So now I'm here on Reddit. I'm thousands of miles away from my support system. Pregnant and emotional. What to do him? What to do myself? I just don't know. Story 2: my parents deny me as their child. The constant bullying on their part drives me too. I don't even know where to start. It's so overwhelming. And the older I get, the more crushing this. I feel so worn down by my family. I love them to absolute pieces, but it's so tense and strange. I could talk forever about the dynamics. I'll try not to haha from the outside looking in. My family looks perfect. Upper middle class, perfect nuclear family, we travel, my dad's a successful businessman, beautiful farm. Being upper middle class, white, and in a private religious school already puts a pretty big stigma on my family. And not to mention my mom charmed my friends. Every friend I had growing up said they wished she was their mom, and they want to be a mom like her. So in terms of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it looks like I have it all made. But the third point was missing. Both my parents struggle, and have both had awful things happen to them. Things I don't think they ever really worked through. They didn't have very supportive parents either. Mental illness runs rampant in both sides of my family, so it's not their fault either. That aside, my mom mentally abused all of us. My dad was never home, and our emotions never mattered. Only when we were tiny and adorable, and the world was big and scary, did they seem to matter. But again, only when convenient. As soon as that was gone, the general feeling around our emotions was, they were frustrating, annoying, why were we like that, and just get over it. Every struggle I've had in my life has been an annoyance to them, and I never, ever felt safe talking to them. My mom's emotions trumped all of ours. When I was 13 and cutting myself, she somehow managed to make it all about her, and still does. She lost her best friend over my depression. She didn't want to talk to anyone. She always blew up at us for having emotions, so of course I didn't want to talk to her or my dad. And when I wouldn't talk, I'd get the silent treatment or she'd yell at me. And my dad would get red-faced and frustrated when I wouldn't open up. I can't remember much from my really young days, but what I do remember wasn't really happy. I just remember being so sad and scared all the time. Everything scared me. My dad told me I was going to blow away in the wind if I didn't eat enough, and for like a year I was terrified to go outside when it was windy and would scream and hang onto my mom's leg. My mom had no patience, and we always joke she wasn't a mom for young kids, so I can only imagine in those moments she wasn't kind. Which I can understand, that would get on anyone's nerves. One time when I was in grade 1, I think, there was a storm, and I was terrified. I thought a tornado was going to come and kill us all every single time. During this storm, my mom had to help my dad with something in the field, and she was driving a tractor. In between setting up our tornado shelter under the stairs, I was on the radio BGing my mom to come back inside, me thinking I was going to save their lives. Of course, they weren't coming back in, so I kept radioing, and I distracted and overwhelmed her so badly she shattered the tractor window. All I remember of her reaction from that was cold, frustrated, and angry, which, understandable. I can remember everything up until they got back, and then it's spotty, which is a good indicator to me she was probably yelling at me and I dissociated. So in terms of childhood development and never receiving any emotional care, even in situations when I was imaging my family's brutal death, I can see that as contributing to why I never feel safe talking to my parents. And it only got worse as we aged and my parents, and I struggled more. I had it turned from her being annoyed with my little kid fears into written down, and I couldn't think anymore because it didn't really turn into anything. I remember starting school and being so scared, and not wanting to leave my parents, but I didn't talk to them about it. Grade 1, the Terry Fox movie freaked me out. I felt like I was going to throw up. So I asked to leave, teachers annoyed, and I went to the bathroom and cried to myself and tried calming myself down. But I couldn't. I don't know what freaked me out so bad, but literally everything did. I just remember in that moment feeling like I'd never be able to talk to anyone, and feeling so ashamed of having emotions. I knew it was stupid and just wanted them to be over with. But I had a panic attack. Who knows if it was my first, but it was the first one I remember, and I remember feeling like the loneliest, most scared person on the planet. I wanted to finish that beginning sentence off with it turned from her being annoyed with my little kid fears into being annoyed with my sadness, but she never knew. What it turned into, however, was her being annoyed with the consequences of her own parenting. When I started struggling, I never talked to her, and the only thing she talked to me seriously about as a child were her emotions, school, religion, or my weight. Everything else was like we were best friends. That's the parent I think she did want to be, but more so wanted to come across that way, and she did. I had my mom to talk to about new movies, tell me honestly if clothes looked good or not, and gossip about friends, but I didn't have a mom who I could tell I was being bullied, who I could tell I was lonely and scared, depressed, and hated myself. So when they found out I was cutting myself when I was 13 after cleaning my room when I was away, and finding bloody tissues, I was too depressed and lazy to clean up, so I shoved them between my bed and the wall after cutting myself one last time before I had to leave. They reacted in an interesting way. Already at that age, my mom was scared to confront me about anything serious. I do remember being really volatile whenever she would actually try to be a parent. But I don't remember being so awful in terms of being confronted with stuff before my depression, after it was a nightmare. But let me paint you a picture of the night that really defined how safe I felt with my parents. When I got back from my trip, my parents left me alone for one day to settle back in. The next night, my dad comes into my room. My dad, who, if you haven't noticed, has been incredibly absent in my story. He was. He tried, but I think I got his mental illness, and if I did, I can see why he needed to be alone so badly. With flowers and tells me they know. Immediately I felt like I was going to throw up, and I wouldn't open up. He wanted to know why I was cutting myself. My dad thought to make me open up, he'd tell me his biggest secret, and it was huge. Impacts everyone in the family, but I couldn't tell anyone because it was a secret so large only maybe 20 people knew. At 13 and suicidal, I had to live with that and not talk about it. Anyways, I couldn't tell him why, and after a couple hours of trying, he got frustrated and walked out, and I remember feeling so guilty and disappointed in myself for not telling him. My heart shattered that day. Every coping mechanism I felt guilty for having. And now my home life was even more tense and awful. Whenever my mom got involved, it was ugly. She found my suicide notes and gave me the silent treatment for a week, saying when she found my private Instagram account. Once I had ripped up some notes, and ripped them up so good I was sure no one could put them back together. Well, I'd get home from school and come home to every single piece, laid out on my floor like a puzzle. And then she got mad at me for it. I waited until I was 18 to see the high school counselor, so that she wouldn't be able to contact my parents without my consent. And in that first appointment, after showing her texts and telling her about fights, she said she would have contacted CPS for emotional abuse had I been under 18. So that was my childhood. After that, I learned I really have to shut up. I can never talk to my parents, it's just surface level. Perfect family, without the emotional connection, it's fine. I'll make friends. Haha, that ended up not to be true. I only lost friends after school. To this day, I have one friend left, and it's a very unhealthy best friendship with my ex. So my goal was to just survive high school and move out. I couldn't talk to my parents. I knew I felt disappointed and guilty. I couldn't make myself talk to them. But I also understood I had a right to be hurt and angry. Their emotions always came above mine, and I was salty as hell about that. Anyways, the part that's eating away at my soul, the dynamics now. All of this left undealt with. Things got a lot better after I moved out, for a couple years. I want to be a psychiatrist. I thank my parents for making me have to figure out the emotional world for that lol. But I did a lot of research on family dynamics to figure out why I am the way I am, so I found out a lot about why my parents are the way they are. And I learned how to bring things up slyly and drop hints, so no one gets hurt and a fight does break out, and slowly they caught on. And now that's why we joke that she wasn't a mom for young kids. Now she knows some of her part, and we joke about how it'll make me good in my field. But still very rarely does this ever come up. And they kind of learn how to deal with things better, but they still don't really have compassion for why I am the way I am. They're patient, I think, because they know they played their part, but whenever any actual emotions come up, it's still reminiscent of the past. My struggle with my eating disorder actually paints really well how they deal with every emotion now. I have been battling anorexia for 2.5 years and have almost died of it. When I was hospitalized the first time 2 years ago, I didn't tell them until after I was discharged. I told them it was for medication stabilization because I couldn't bear to say it was because I was suicidal and my doctor was concerned about my weight loss. And even then, we didn't talk about it. I was on way too high of a dose of lithium. So my dad, while I actively thought I was dying of it, was shaking, had a hard time talking, and I found out later he didn't even notice. Had no idea I was struggling. My third hospitalization, I told them halfway through, and actually did call my mom. And she was kind, but again I lied about why I was in there. They didn't even know about my second overnight stay due to bradycardia. But whenever the eating disorder or any struggle of mine makes me a bit difficult to deal with, they can't handle it. It's always an inconvenience and they don't understand, and we were just joking, whenever they make insensitive comments. When I gained weight, it's a whole story. It happened unintentionally. I just get super depressed and went the other way. Gained half my body weight in 3 months. It was devastating to me, and it also happened during the year my sister was engaged and planning her wedding, which was incredibly hard. My insecurities and struggles did get in the way, mostly for me. I let my baby sister down big time with her wedding, and I'll never forgive myself. I could make myself be there more. I hoped the wedding would change that about me, but it didn't, and I hate myself for it. It's one of those unspoken letdowns, which my life seems to be full of. But when I gained weight, I actually did try really hard to be okay with it. And I did talk more to my family about it, but they would just kind of respond to me like I was insane. Wide-eyed and talk slowly so we don't scare her kind of responses. Which sucked because I tried. It seems whenever I try, they just get flustered, and they don't even know me. If they truly knew me, they'd shit themselves. I hide so much from them and keep so much in just to not cause fights. I've not kept it in 3 times in my adult life, and all times I left the fights thinking I was never going to talk to my parents again. I feel I have complete control over how the conversation goes, and if I ever reveal who I am, it doesn't go well. Maybe not that, they have absolutely no control over their emotions, so I always have to steer the conversation away from blow-ups. Even when I get flustered exactly the way my mom does, they look at me like a mental zoo animal. I feel like I'm not giving them the chance to understand me, but I have no idea how when they put me down every time it gets truly real. It's been over 2 years of struggling with this eating disorder, 6 years of feeling guilty for not being closer to the family anymore. So I've been trying to get closer, but I'm realizing it's hard. And it's not the same as it was before, no matter how badly I want it to be. There was a year after I moved out that I went home regularly. Almost exactly a year after I moved out and came home, and my mom told me whenever I come home I act like I'm the queen and I expect a huge arrival and everyone to bow down to me. I don't know why I was acting this way. Maybe I was depressed and hoping they'd be grateful to see me. I missed them so much, and when I came home it didn't seem like anyone really cared. And after that I felt so embarrassed and ashamed. After that, and a "you're getting fat" comment from my dad, I didn't go home again for months. After that, it's been an even worse battle with everything. No matter how hard I try, nobody cares or sees how hard I'm trying, and it's always an inconvenience when I fail. I never get compassion, but I always have to shell out compassion. I'm still expected to put their emotions above my own. They have no idea that every time I've been back to the family house since moving out, I'm filled with almost unbearable guilt, shame, memories, thinking what I need to be doing, how I'm letting them down, just a huge shame spiral the whole time I'm there. Not to mention the guilt for not feeling comfortable in my own family home. And every time I'm there, my dad begs me not to leave, to stay, he misses me, which just adds even more to my guilt. And that inevitably causes a panic attack when I leave. I'm scared I'm heading into a bad patch, and that's why I'm here. I never thought how this would turn out. It's getting more tense, and I'm getting sick of it. I hate having to hide who I am. I can't wear short sleeves around my family, can't go swimming with them. I'm insecure, they're always looking at me for scars or bones or weight loss. And for what? To confirm their worries and get passive-aggressive towards me. I know they care, but they're so emotionally immature. And watching them age is killing me. Now I'm thinking, because they're sad empty nesters, my sister's married, brother is always busy. They've been wanting me to come out more, and seeming more and more disappointed when I don't. Which actually kills me, because I love them so much and know they've tried and continue to try. But every time I go over, the older I get, the more foreign and uncomfortable I feel in that house. The more I feel like conversations are solely for them and not for me. I want to talk to people less and less because I'm sick of conversations that don't matter. Yeah, conspiracies, politics, all this shit going on in the world is fine and dandy. Family gossip, cool. But I'm scared of ever let my parents know me, and I don't know how to have a close familial relationship when you can't even be yourself. When I'm manic and talk really fast and excited and want to talk to them, they give me that wide-eyed look too. And when I'm depressed and not talking to them, they text and ask if I'm okay. Which, that's good. But I still don't feel comfortable to tell them. So I feel awful because they truly are trying. I kind of want to tell them about how badly I'm doing, but it won't do any good. I don't want their help, I don't want them to know. I'm not sure if that's actually understandable or if it's something I just need to get over. I haven't actually sat them down and told them about myself, but I can't even think about doing that. I honestly think I'd rather kill myself than tell them who I truly am. And I feel disconnected from everyone, them included. And that adds a whole different side to things, makes it feel pointless. Am I just a selfish, ungrateful, oversensitive, problem child that can't get over the past? Because I have no idea. If I'm not, what do I do? Leaving my home makes me so uncomfortable, and I hate giving my parents excuses. I back out 95% of the times I say I'm going to the family farm, and I feel so guilty and hate giving excuses. And now the responses are just which I hate. But I don't know where to begin. I feel too uncomfortable and judged by them to actually talk to them, but I feel guilty because I know they love me and care. And I feel so bad for my siblings, practically losing a sister over all this. I never talk to them, and I truly love them so much, with everything I have, but I'm so awkward. I feel so bad after every conversation because I want to be close and talk like a normal person, but I can't. And they put up with me, I think, because they see it's sad. But I know they're probably hurt by my absence, and it kills me. Even my extended family, I love them so much, but my anxiety makes me look like a bitch. And sometimes when I leave family events, I feel like people are talking about how rude I was. And now favor my cousin, who is so awful. She bullied me so bad growing up, and expected me to listen to her every concern and help her through everything. It's hard to see her slowly become more and more part of the family that she never cared about, and I do it can't connect. I have nothing to talk about except how bad I'm doing. They ask how I'm doing in school. I had to withdraw from all my classes, but nobody knows, so I make up fake numbers on my finals and hope no one catches on. It's empty. If I could become invisible, I would. If I could cease to exist, I would. If I could kill myself without feeling guilty of even the thought of it, without worrying about how my family would feel, without feeling all the guilt as if I had killed their eldest daughter, I would.